Welcome to the video documentation of the Larquencer. This is the Larquencer. It is a fully functioning sequencer made in pure data. It is created in the spirit of a free-thinking device that does not necessarily adhere to the conventional ways of a sequencer. The sequencer has no random factors and is in that sense predictable. But it is, however, created with the mindset of leading your mind into alternate paths of pattern creation, and hopefully transcending your brains to alternate realities in a jiffy. The Larquencer is not intended as a tool of structural song creation or predictable notational scoring, but rather as an instrument of pure human creativity and as an aid for displaying uncanny and taboo emotions. The Larquencer is intended to be ported as an actual hardware unit in the future. It is therefore designed to be used with at least 10 physical limbs, and not with a mouse. It nevertheless has the same functionality using the mouse within this software version. The following is an explanation of how the Larquencer operates. On top we have the on/off switch. Underneath we have the pitch slider, spanning over 2 octaves, which can be adjusted further +2 or -2 octaves, using the octave step adjuster, or OSA for short. The functions per step has a layout with similarities to that of an analog mixer. The logical signal flow goes from the top to the bottom of any row, and you have here 8 rows with the same functionality. This is the memory alternator recall slot section, or MARS for short. Right now it is set to the left and is in neutral, which means the pitch can be freely adjusted. Store one of the pitch values, including changes made by the OSA, by pressing one of the record buttons. The stored pitch values can then be recalled by using the corresponding read slots of the MARS. Every step has individual velocity. There is also a master velocity on the right side. The gray numbers are MIDI pitch bend values that enable you to create microtonality within MIDI. It can be turned on and off here. Next to the master velocity slider we have a length slider, which adjusts the length of the MIDI notes that are output. The orange buttons jumps to that step of the sequence instantaneously when clicked, but is still scheduled to move to the next step according to the current tempo. Black buttons plays the currently selected note from the MARS of the step. In addition, it also includes the pitch bend and velocity values of the step. If your synth has polyphony, you can play chords by using these. This is a master MARS section that stores or recalls all of the pitch step MARS values in one go. This is the master pitch slider, which transposes all of the steps' pitch values. The large button on the top resets it. It includes an OSA, and its own MARS system. The master pitch has its own master microtonal adjustment. is the alternation of directional paths section, or ADP for short. This yellow toggle makes the sequence go back and forth, including double steps at the ends. This blue toggle does the same, but without the double steps at the ends. When in the blue mode, you can use these other small blue buttons to change the loop points. This is the BPM tempo area. You can adjust the BPM freely using this slider. Store it using this small button, and recall it using this big button. These are some choices incrementing and decrementing the BPM. In addition to this BPM multiplicator, they are meant to be used together to obtain multiple variations in tempo. This toggle turns on the MIDI clock out signal. This is the Instamacrogram section. With the toggle you turn on the sequence's internal synth voice. It is intended to be used as a sort of booth output, for listening to the same pitch as the slider is outputting, without outputting any notes from the sequencer. Like so. This means that when used in a live setting, you can preview the notes of the sequencer in your headset, before the notes are sequenced out to the audience. The oscillator is also meant to be an easier way of adjusting pitch, as you have a clear synth tone to adjust, possibly in contrast to a complex and hard to distinguish sound, triggered by the sequencer. Last but not least, the whole sequencer is actually running two sequences simultaneously. Sequencer A and sequencer B. When sequencer A is moving forward, sequencer B is moving backwards, and vice versa. Changing between the two sequences is done with the big D button. When used with the ADP, you can jump between the two sequencer dimensions, and discover additional loop points and variations. This concludes the video documentation of the Larquencer. Thanks for trying the Larquencer. Hip hip hoppity, hoo ha, from Larcos.